Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another episode of POD SCUM. You looked for it and you found it. The podcast where we dive into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary guests. Because that's what we do here on POD SCUM. And who better to interview these legends? The coolest people in the world, but the hottest host. Your man right here, your bastard of ceremonies, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. Get it right. A.K.A. the King of Sleaze, A.K.A. the Hair Metal High Priest, A.K.A. the man with the golden voice and the velvet tongue. And most importantly, and you all know it, A.K.A. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. That is me, the son of glam, the front man for the band. Got 1 million fans, just smoked a few grams. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Bop Doo Bop Wop Bang Bang, Shazam, ah damn. Whew. Coming to you as always from the Pink Pussycat Lounge, aka the Den of Sin. And I know what you're thinking if you're looking at these luscious locks. And if you too want the locks that rock, get the product that does it all for me. And of course, I am the hardest working man in show business, other than bringing you this podcast. I'm fronting numerous glam and sleaze metal bands all around the tri-state New York area. And you can catch me gigging almost anywhere. Of course, this is the No Frills podcast. As always, you don't get any frills because you get lots of thrills. And what are those thrills, you might ask, Rex? Well, those thrills are getting to feast your eyes on moi. And plus, I'm 49 years old. You're not going to get all this technology out of me. What you see is what you get. Oh, boy. And we got another good one for you today. And he's a handsome one, too. So let me give myself a look and make sure that I am up to standards. As if I'm ever not. But anyway, I digress. Let's get down to brass tacks here because we got an enjoyable guest. And let me remind you also, Love Sword, my newest band, still looking for players. So if you're virtuoso level or above, hit me up in the comment section. Send me your audition tapes. Send me, I don't know, however the fuck musicians find other people nowadays. But if you play your cards right, you could be the backing band staring at the backside of the second greatest frontman to ever do it. And that is me. So while we get our guest in here, and I'm excited, just saw these guys the other night, and they put on a heck of a good show. Oh, and there's our guest right there. So he'll be joining us on POD SCUM, and I'm very excited. La, 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 la. Let me get my voice in order here. Ian, how are you, buddy?
Hey, what's up, dude?
Good to see you. Now, is it Ian or Ian?
It's Ian.
You know what, though? Some people do like to pull that sometimes, the Ian thing.
Yeah, I know.
So this is
we don't like those people. No.
No, you're right. We don't like those people. Ian DARTEZ. Did I get that right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
That is correct. From the band Hold On Hollywood. And I was fortunate enough to get to see you guys the other night in my area opening up for Candlebox. First of all, let me say awesome show. I mean, you guys really kicked ass. Very rarely do I get the pleasure of being blown away by like an opening band. Usually your expectations for an opening band can be kind of low, right? I mean, it's a little, it's always a nice pleasant surprise because it doesn't happen often.
Well, I appreciate that, man. We take this very seriously, so I'm glad that we do our job right.
Yeah, you did. So you guys are based out of Houston, Texas?
Yes, sir.
Is that where you're originally from?
I'm not. No, I was born in Louisiana.
I was gonna say I didn't hear the Texas drawl.
Yeah. Funny thing is I was born in Louisiana, but I grew up in the Caribbean. So whenever you're in the West Indies type of world, stateside people are not pretty much welcome in the, for the locals. So I had to lose my Cajun accent very quick as a young age.
Lose that Cajun accent. Yeah, can't have that, right?
Oh, it was bad. I watched videos when I was young. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so glad I don't have that anymore.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, so 2020, you guys put out the EP, Love Stories. And I've been listening to the EP a lot. Really love it. I think I told you guys the other day when I met you at the merch table, I was getting some big Green Day vibes. You know what I mean? But certainly very hooky, melodic, anthemic, kind of sing-along songs.
Right.
But I wanted to ask specifically, because you did it at the show the other night, and you also do it on the EP. Where does the song choice to cover Eddie Money come from?
Oh man. So I had been I brought that song to the band a while ago. I would say first 3 years that we were a band. And I just like, guys, man, I really love this song. I thought it was super cool. In our song The Chase, it kind of has that same kind of like that
right,
like just that rock feel, and so I'm like, guys, it would be really, really cool if we did this. And 2 years passed, and they were like, dude, let's do that song. So we did it, and then it became a big staple in our live shows, to the point where now people expect us to play it.
Sure.
They look forward to it, I guess that's the better term. And we recorded it and put it on that record, man. It was the last addition to the EP, and it's actually our most streamed song.
Yeah.
So
But that's saying something, because the late great Eddie Money, rest in peace, was actually a pretty big part of, because I saw you guys here in upstate New York, and he was actually quite familiar to our area. He played quite a bit in our area. I don't know if he had a fondness for the area or the reception that he got from fans, but he gigged around this area quite a bit.
That's awesome. I unfortunately never got a chance to see him live, but
me neither. No.
Always loved his stuff. He's got so many hits that and all of them are so good. So
yeah, he does. Yeah. So I want to ask you a little bit about, and I've got the shortened list here because I want to ask you specifically about a couple of the ones that I was interested in. But I was looking at the resume of bands you guys have opened for. Obviously, Bon Jovi's a huge one, right? What kind of opportunity was that? I mean, that's got to be an epic show.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. So here in Houston, we have an arena called the Toyota Center.
Yep.
And it seats 20,000 people, and it was a sold-out show. And we were opening slot. We only had 20 minutes, but
yeah,
we played it, man. They treated us like we were royalty, man. They had like buffets that were like foods from Italy, and
nice.
It was just phenomenal. Like, it was the first time that we ever had an experience like this where we were treated like an artist that was reputable, So
right.
What I loved about it the most, though, was the fact that John himself is very down to earth. We got to meet him and talk to him, and he was just cool. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I'm the big guy here. You know what I mean? No, he was just like, man, I like the music. Do you guys write your own? He's just like asking personal questions that were just like really cool. And it's nice to know that someone, that has a $400 million net worth is
I know
still a human,
Yeah, because you do got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. I mean, you never really know, like, when you're going to meet those people. I mean, if they're going to live up to the expectation. I'm always worried. There's certainly an excitement about meeting famous people, but then if they're famous people that you really have a fondness for, I mean, you're kind of like, uh-oh, here goes. This person's either going to let me down tremendously or be everything that I hope he is.
Right.
So you're saying no cheap deli tray backstage at a Bon Jovi concert, then? Nothing like that.
I thought they were like, catering's at 5. I was like, okay, us who we are and where we come from, we're like, oh, it'll be sandwiches or, some fast food or pizza, like pizzas, right? Oh no, man. It was like filet mignon. Fresh.
Nice.
It was
kudos to John Bon Jovi. He knows how to treat his opening bands. Nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, it's good when you can get that kind of treatment along the way when you're a young band, I imagine. I mean, I also wanted to ask you about, obviously, I saw you with Candlebox the other night. I've been a Candlebox fan for a long time. I actually got to come in person a little bit early to the venue. You guys were playing that night. I did an interview in person with BJ, the drummer for Candlebox. But what's your connection with Candlebox? How did you get hooked up with those guys? Because I heard Kevin say from the stage that you guys had been kind of opening for them on and off for a few years now.
Right. So, first of all, Kevin is like probably the most amazing guy I've ever met in the music industry.
Still sounds great too.
Yeah, if I wish that, oh yeah, dude. Oh my, he could out-sing me any day. And he's
unbelievable. Yeah,
So,
he's still incredible, and yet he's talking about hanging it up with the touring next year. But he still has a phenomenal live voice, though. I mean, the guy hasn't lost a thing.
yeah, I know, it's awesome. It's very inspirational for sure. But when we opened up for Bon Jovi, we got a lot of radio play for the song "The Chase."
Yep.
Which was off our first record, and it hit it off. We were like this 22nd most played artist on FM radio during that time, and the local radio stations, like 94.5 The Buzz. They're part of iHeart and all that stuff.
Yep.
And we got real close with the PDs and the host of the radio station, and we went out, and he was like, "Hey, Candlebox is going to be in town. Do you guys know who they are?" And we're like, "Hell yeah! I've been listening to them since I was super young.
Yeah,
I grew up with them." Fun fact: my very first guitar solo was the solo for "Far Behind."
Really?
To learn any guitar solo, it's got to be this guitar solo. I was like,
yeah.
"Let's."
Yeah.
But anyway, we went over there, and they were playing at House of Blues, and went backstage, met Kevin, and he was like, "Dude, you guys rock. I really like your energy. I like your, he listened to the songs. He had heard it on the radio and was like, line up some dates." We did a 3-date show with, like kind of like a little run with him right before COVID, and COVID happened. And so the tour we were on for Wolves is what the tour was supposed to be in 2020, but it got
right.
So every now and then we would play a little show, but that's how we got linked up, and a lot of other artists that were idols of mine that I got linked up through that whole connection as well. So
yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, and I've kept in contact with BJ because he's actually, oddly enough, he's gonna try to hook me up in the future to get Kevin on here, just because I think that Kevin is a guy where you can get on and talk music with him, but a lot of the stuff that he said from the stage I really like too, like the Riptide Foundation and helping out the foster kids, and his slant on political stuff. I mean, like whether people out that watch my podcast will agree with him or not, he's definitely a guy with stuff to say though, and an interesting guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he is one of a kind for sure. Even his thoughts and his opinions even if they don't subside with what you do, he doesn't ever push anything on you. And
right.
I mean, he's just, like I said, he's an honorable man. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy his personality. I enjoy his company, and I'm very fortunate to know him.
And not to mention, BJ said that on the tour bus at night, the '90s stories are just great from Kevin. He's got, he's probably rubbed elbows and knows everybody from that, from that era. He certainly knows all those, those Seattle grunge guys, being from Seattle himself. You know what I mean? So I imagine his storybook is probably quite full. He's probably got a lot of a couple other ones I want to ask you about, and I'll throw them both out there because I saw them both in the same night on the same bill, and it kind of reminded me of what I experienced with Candlebox the other day. Is Bad Flower and the Struts. Now I went to see them, and it was that's probably the only other time when I really was blown away by the opening band. Now the Struts were the headliner, but Bad Flower, I went with my son, and they blew us away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's jaw was on the floor when Bad Flower got done. I mean, it was very tough for the Struts to follow them that night.
Yeah. We played BuzzFest here in Houston, which is kind of like a big festival. And Bad Flower was on the bill. They were right after us. And we got to meet them. Holy crap, that band is insane. Yeah. I'm a big Bad Flower fan. I like
Me too. Yeah.
I think that they're incredible musicians, and I believe they're based out of up that area. Are they from New York or? I
don't know. I don't know. No, I believe they're a California band.
Are they?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Because I remember doing a little quick, Google search on them before I went to see them. Because it's always nice to kind of know, like, but the stuff that I saw on YouTube did not do them justice, though, when they were live. I mean, it was in like a theater setting, 700 or 800 people, but everybody was just stone silent when they were done. I think everyone was just like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, they were absolutely incredible, their energy. And I'm not saying that the Struts didn't come out and put on an absolutely amazing show, but I'm just saying Bad Flower really had to force them into having to bring their A game that night, because they certainly would not have been easy to follow that night. I mean, they were really, really good. So was music always the dream for you, or did you ever have like another plan in life, or has it been music right out of the gate for you?
It's been music right out of the gate. I started playing music with my dad in cover bands whenever I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So I started really young. I knew exactly what I wanted. So I was born 40 years too late, or at least I say that. Music is a lot older than my years, you know, and so I grew up listening to like Pink Floyd and Rush, and like I really enjoyed those artists, even though I have a crazy musical taste and I listen to literally everything. And
me too.
I'll say that, but like I do, you know, it'll be rap one day, it'll be R&B one day, it'll be metal one day, it'll be
me too. Yeah.
I mean, depending on what I feel like that day. Like today, I've been jamming lo-fi, just chill music, you know, and it's great. But I grew up as soon as I saw Alex Lifeson from Rush on stage. I was like, that's what I want to do. So I picked up guitar. And then whenever I saw videos of like Journey and like Led Zeppelin and like just the frontmen, right, where they were just killing it on stage. Of course, all the 90s guys, you know, I've always been a Soundgarden fan, and you know, Fuel and Matchbox 20 and Green Day and, you know, all those bands that from the 90s. You could definitely hear where those influences playing a part in my voice and my songwriting.
No doubt.
Ever since then, that's what I've been doing, you know. But I did go to school for like welding and like trade school, stuff like that, to learn as like a backup in case it ever failed. Like ever failed. But that, to me, if you want it and your heart's in it, there's never failure. It's only growth.
Right. And you certainly don't want to go from potential rock star to welder.
Right. Right.
That's not the next career step you want to make. Let me ask you this: being a young band now, you know, kind of just getting some traction, just getting started out. It's a very, and you know, I've talked about this with other people that I've had on here that have had a lot of longevity in the music business. It's the same story for everybody. It's a very tough time to be in the music business. Do you find it hard, you know, like when you're a band of 4 young guys? Is it tough when you're not seeing like the trade-off sometimes as far as commercial success and just feeling like you're not getting anywhere? Is the morale of the band good? And is it hard sometimes to keep the morale of the band up, you know, when you're young guys and you're not seeing, you know, really the fruits of your labor? Is it tough sometimes just not to want to just throw in the towel and just say the fucking hell with it?
Oh yeah. Every day. I mean, honestly, it is difficult because this is your, even though music is music, whenever you are the artist, it's a business. You know what I mean? It's your baby. You know, it's everything in your heart and it's everything on your sleeve. It's everything that represents you, who you are, and what you do. And whenever it doesn't go the way that you feel it or it doesn't succeed, it hits a lot. Because as far as just songwriting in general, for me, it's like my version of a journal. It's my version of a going to therapy. So I really put my heart and soul into it. So whenever I feel like that it's not reciprocating the way I want it to, I feel like that maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe what the things I feel people are not relating to. But I have to go back and look at and, you know, stop and smell the flowers and be like, hey, I have had success. Right now, we live in a world where you have to change the way that you do things constantly, in a upward, you know, growth type of way.
Sure.
And you just got to remember that if I was supposed to be doing something else, I'd be doing it. You know what I mean? So I would say, if I could speak for us all, that whenever it's good, it's amazing. And whenever it's not good, you know, we try to say, hey, you know, let's get in the studio and write some new music. You know, we try to find ways to boost the morale. You know, it is easy to point fingers and say you're the reason why things are not working this way. But at the end of the day, the whole boat is going to sink regardless if it's the back end or the front end. Right. You know, so you go in this together and you have to really be a team and say, you know what, hey, this is where we can improve. This is where we're lacking. Let's work on this. And once you start working on it and you see that that teamwork and that just effort put into it, that fire burns bright. And that's really help whenever you have times like this where it gets low, you know. But like when we're in the casinos and we're playing in front of all those people like Candlebox shows, you know, we feel like on top of the world.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so.
So talk to me a little bit about what the creative process is like with your band. I always like to touch on that when I have musicians on here. Do you guys kind of all get in a room and spitball ideas? Does one person kind of take the reins on that and do most of the songwriting? Is it very collaborative? How do you guys go about creating?
Man, it really depends on the song. To be honest, I would say a majority of the time, I take the reins as far as the melody and lyrical direction of how the song goes. As far as the song itself, it's really Nick and Devin, our drummer, and Nick and our guitar player. Devin really took the reins on being the guy that demos and does all the production for the, like we write a song and he records it, and then we get ideas on how we want the song done, and then we can either do it ourselves or we go to a professional studio and we'll have them recorded. And then Corey really is just like, even though he's not a frontman, he really is a face. A lot of people like him because of his personality. Mm-hmm. Whenever we went into this, we necessarily didn't need another songwriter on board, and he understood that. Now he does write songs, and he is a great musician, great songwriter in his own way, but understood that not everybody has to have their hand in the pot in order for us to make the songs work. We really, if Corey brings a good idea to the table and it works, then we use it. If it doesn't, we don't. And it took years for us to understand those roles.
Right.
But that is really how it is. But it took trust. It took, hey guys, let me write this song out vocally and these melodies and lyrics out. Let me hear it out first and then see that it works. And then that trust over years, they understand that whenever I say, hey, let me take care of this, that I will do a good job.
Right. Right.
So that's really the process. But basically we get in a room and we're like, hey, let's write some new songs. I kind of had this idea that I wanted to flesh out. Devin will get behind the computer. Nick will either write a guitar part or whatever, or I'll write a guitar part. And the band will jam. We'll jam out we'll sit there and just our chemistry is really unreal. So we'll just jam and jam and jam, and then we'll be like, oh, remember that idea? Record that real quick, and then let's go back and hash this out. And then that's really our process. I mean, that's ever since the beginning. So
now, when you are a young band like this and you're opening, for legends like Bon Jovi and Candlebox, I won't really put the Struts and Badflower and some of those other bands, that are still in their early stages as bands. But when you open up for heavy hitters like Bon Jovi, Candlebox, as a young band, do you guys put any pressure on yourselves for those gigs, to say like, hey, we're on a bill here opening up, for somebody that's really has, some status in the business? Do you put more pressure on yourself for those gigs, or are you able just to kind of decompartmentalize and treat them all the same way?
Man, that saying where whether you play in front of 5 people or 1,000 people really is something that a lot of bands that have that it factor really take upon themselves, because we're there just obviously we feed off the crowd, but we're out there giving everything we got, and we just treat every show the exact same regardless, because that's what we are. And if we go out there and people can feel that energy. If you go out and there's 5 people there, they're going to be like, oh, this band's kind of boring, but if you go out there and act like there's 10,000 people, those 5 people will love what you're doing. Right. And then vice versa. If you go out there in front of 10 people and you're freaked out because you're opening for a heavy hitter, they might be like, oh, this band doesn't have what it takes to be able to handle this many people in front of them. Yeah. So we don't.
You can't. Yeah. I suppose you got to go out there and kind of, put on a little bit of swagger, and kind of like show people that you belong. I mean, you kind of have to approach it that way.
Yeah, 100%. I was born to do this, and I feel like that I want to portray that.
Yeah. So the band name, Hold On Hollywood, who comes up with that, and what's the meaning behind it?
So Nick pretty much came up with it, the guitar player, but the way that it came across was, sorry, allergies are killing me today.
That's all right. That's all right. I was actually Googling you at the show, and I just recently had eye surgery on a detached retina. So when I was in line at the merch table to buy a Candlebox shirt, and subsequently I did go back through again and get the trucker hat. So
that's awesome.
I am representing because I know how important. I hear it from musicians all the time. You know, the live setting and selling the merch is the bread and butter for a lot of bands nowadays. But when I went through that first time, mistakenly, I looked out of the eye and I thought you guys were called Holy Hollywood. So I'm in the venue and I'm Googling and I'm just like, I can't find a band called Holy Hollywood. And then we went back out and took another trip in between bands when your set was done, because you guys said you're going to be out at the merch table. We wanted to come out and meet you guys and hopefully set something like this up. And then I finally got closer to the hats and I'm just like, oh, there you go. That's why I couldn't fucking find them. Got the wrong name. So it's not Holy Hollywood out there, folks. It's Hold On Hollywood. But go ahead. Elaborate on where the name came from.
So I was, we had been at this bar and we'd been drinking and just shooting the shit. And whenever I started first coming around with the band, they were calling me Hollywood, gassing me up, I guess, from the like my teeth and just like my look, and I look or some shit. And so I was running my mouth to Nick or something like that. I was just talking shit to him, and he said, "Hold on, Hollywood," and hold on, motherfucker. Yeah. And we all kind of like looked at each other and we're like, "Oh shit, that's bad." That's it.
And it's so great when a band name just comes organically like that too. When everybody just looks at each other and says, like that's it. Like, boom, we just found it. We just found the band. I had heard him from the stage that night refer to you as Justin Bieber.
Yeah, yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, we pick at each other as far as our doppelgangers. I called him Jason Momoa because he has.
You did.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what, though. Yeah, I mean, even the Jason Momoa one, but certainly Justin Bieber, though. I mean, if you're gonna be a doppelganger of somebody, man, not bad looking dudes.
No, not at all. I mean, said something. Someone said something about that while we were at the show, and I'm like, Bieber's worth $300 million. That's a pretty good.
He's worth $300 million, and he's got to beat the chicks away with a stick. I mean, right. It's the Biebs. I mean, what can you say about him? Now, I want to ask you about new music, but first, I don't know if you've never seen an episode of Pod Scum before. I like to, in the middle of the interview, I do a little thing where I throw my guest in the furnace. So these are just comparison questions. I'm just going to throw them at you, and you rattle off your answers. Okay?
1 second.
And I am going to grade you on this, so there's no pressure, Ian, but you will be graded here. And these are just comparisons. Now, I love the song Movies. I was singing along the other night. You probably didn't hear me, but I was.
Okay.
So when you're going to the movies, front row or back of the theater?
Back.
Back, okay. Would you rather listen to Nails on a Chalkboard or Ariana Grande?
Ariana Grande.
Over Nails on a Chalkboard, okay. Out of these two Billies, Billie Holiday or Billie Eilish?
Ooh, Billie Eilish.
Jesus, you're so damn young, though, man. You might not even know who the fuck Billie Holiday is. I don't know how the hell that one ended up.
I do.
Okay. Out of the Skywalkers, who do we like more, Luke or Anakin? I'm a bad guy fan myself, so.
Okay, Luke.
Luke, yeah. You could play Luke in a reboot. You should get the guys to start calling you Luke Skywalker. All right. Okay. Out of these two sexy songs, Justin Timberlake's Bringing Sexy Back or Right Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy?
Oh, Justin Timberlake all day.
You got to go him, right? Paul McCartney or John Lennon?
Paul McCartney.
These are big things we're settling here. Zach or Slater?
Zach.
That's another guy you could be right there. Okay, so here's where I'll throw in some of the Texas element here, even though you're not originally from there. Does it make you more of a cowboy to have the hat or the boots?
Oh, the hat.
The hat makes a cowboy, right? Plus, the boots are not very comfortable. I don't know. I've never slipped into a pair that were comfortable. The bigger tragedy in Texas, the Waco incident or Ozzy pissing on the Alamo?
The Waco incident.
A little more tragic?
Yeah. There was, that explosion you're talking about?
Yeah. They had a mess down there. Okay, if Texas was going to get its own postage stamp, whose face should be on it? Leatherface or George Bush? Both famous, obviously both famous Texans.
Yeah, Leatherface. Let's go.
Okay. And here's the most important one right here. Out of the Van Halen eras, now think about who you're talking to now, because I am David Lee Roth Jr. Just the DNA is not conclusive yet. Roth or Hagar?
Dude, I knew. This is the most horrible question to ask because I'm a melody guy and I love Sammy Hagar.
I know.
As far as straight up rock and roll, pits and vinegar, David Lee Roth every day.
And plus, you got to love the fact that he's a very flamboyant, as a front man yourself, you know what I mean? You got to love his exuberance at least.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Those are two different bands, in my opinion. They should have changed the name.
I guess as I look through your answers, I usually like to take opposition with at least one and kind of discuss it, but I don't know if I have anything here I can disagree with you about, except for maybe Luke and Anakin. But that's just me. I root for the bad guys in movies. I'm always hoping Michael Myers will fucking gut all those teenagers too. I mean, I'm just
I like Darth Vader, but I thought that Anakin Skywalker in the movies was kind of whack.
Am I to believe now, from what I read, that you have somewhat of you're somewhat smitten with one Avril Lavigne?
Oh my gosh, shit, yeah, dude. I have a huge crush on her.
I just found your kryptonite, huh?
Yeah, dude. So I bought her first record whenever I was 11, 10, something like that. I was very young.
Yeah.
And I had it on a little CD player.
Okay.
My headphones, and I listened to it over and over and over and over and over again. I actually went through 2 of the discs because they went bad. And and I loved the record so much. My dad would be like, "Go to bed," and I wouldn't go to bed, so he would actually ground me from listening to my CD of Avril Lavigne. Like, that's how much I was obsessed with it. I didn't have shit like that, but I was like, if I ever marry a celebrity, it's gonna be Avril Lavigne,
So right here I can get a Pod Scum exclusive right now. You're proclaiming your love for Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, let's go. And if she doesn't love me back, at least let me open up for her, and I'll be happy.
Fair enough. You know what? I think that would be a pretty good little tour package. I could see you guys opening up for her.
Oh yeah, that'd be so much fun.
Now, what is it about her? Like, what is it about her specifically? I know you said you were, really big on hooky songs and melodies and stuff. What was it about her music? Is that what it was, or is it the whole thing? Because she obviously had, when she first came out, had that bad girl kind of skater image. That cool chick in school that nobody ever wants to talk to, but they all secretly love.
Right. That's what I like that the underdog story. Everybody successful has that underdog story, but what I really was attracted about her was that she was so unique at such a young age.
Yeah.
It was inspiring to me. And I was like, I love what she's talking about. I love her melodies. You could put on any Avril Lavigne song right now and be like, that's Avril Lavigne, and what record she comes from. And I don't know. I loved it. They had that whole conspiracy about her dying. You ever heard about that?
No.
So they have a conspiracy about her. I don't even know if it's true or not, but it's pretty crazy. So earlier in her career, whenever she was really, really young,
right,
she suffered from really bad anxiety because she was a young pop star.
Sure, a lot of pressure.
She actually had a public celebrity double named Melissa that went out and did interviews and meet and greets while she was suffering from a panic attack because she was, it was overwhelming for her. This is true. Like, she actually had a stunt double, but she looked exactly like Avril Lavigne.
Wow.
The conspiracy theory is that Avril Lavigne, the original one, actually ended up committing suicide. And they trained the stunt double how to sing and talk exactly like her. And then they just moved the Hollywood industry, just moved her into her position, because there's pictures and all kinds of crazy shit about how she has a mole on her lip now that wasn't
right.
Or her nose doesn't have. I mean, of course, as you get richer, you can get cosmetic changes, but
sure.
It was just wild stuff, that allegations, and she's come out and said and addressed it. I'm not, I didn't die, but I'm got to go down that hole. It really, it's crazy on how these fan theories.
So now what if all of a sudden her doppelganger, this Melissa, what if she were to come out of the woodwork and she were to proclaim her love for you? Would it not be the same thing?
I guess it would be, yeah. Right, that's the second best, I guess.
I mean, I guess, yeah, if you have to settle, you have to settle, but at least you're getting somebody that's, was able to pull off the whole doppelganger thing. I mean, that's not easy to do. I can't believe there's somebody out there that looks exactly like Avril Lavigne. That's crazy, because I don't know if you're aware of the rumor, and it's always been a big conspiracy, but apparently they say back in 1966 that Paul McCartney died in a car accident.
Right, I remember that.
And there was a guy who won a talent contest, but then not just able to play the bass like Paul, but sing and look just like him. But I feel like if Paul McCartney had been dead all these years, he's been through a couple of wives, bandmates, somebody would have got hip to this and blown the lid off of this story, I think, Right. So right. I don't know how true that could be. That's a long. Apparently, the Beatles were going to announce it 2 weeks later to their fan base or whatever, and then it just got easy just to keep this guy in the band because he could pull it off.
Wow,
which seems crazy, but I mean, apparently you can look the guy up. His name is Billy Shears Campbell, and he does look like him. But I don't know how you pull that ruse off, for the better part of 50, 60 years, and nobody comes forth and says this isn't really him. I mean,
right.
It seems like something hard to pull off for a short time, maybe. But so what's the timetable on? I wanted to ask you. First, before I ask you the timetable on new music. Going forward, and this is another topic that people are very divided on here about how will you be releasing music in the future? Meaning a lot of people are thinking that, with the short attention span of the public nowadays, a lot of people are going like the singles route. Got to keep our name out there, keep hitting people with music. Some are going the EP route, just a small batch of well-crafted songs. Some people are still doing the long play, old school. How do you guys see yourselves progressing through your career? And in terms of the format that you put music out in?
Well, that's a good observation. A lot of people, even still to this day, is not catching on the fact that that's how the world is going.
Yeah.
And we have, and we wanted to release, 2 compilations, which we already have, the 2 EPs, and then we were going to go the single route. So right now we have about 15 songs that are completely done and ready, that we love, and that we're like, that could be a record. However, they're all single worthy. So we're going to release single after single after single after single after single, and really just stay consistent, because I mean, that attention span is the worst thing that anything could happen to an artist, other than, digital, copies, and they're not paying worth it. But it sucks, because like, you really have to now, instead of just writing how you want and how you feel, you really have to do it strategically. And it doesn't make it fun, but it just takes time to learn how to do it correctly.
Right.
Like I was jamming, today marks the 29th year of Counting Crows' first record.
Yep. And
I saw it pop up on my feed. I'm like, man, I haven't heard that record in its entirety in forever. So I went and listened to it today, and I'm like, man, they have that song Mr. Jones on there, and I love it. Love that song. Love that record. But they just did what they felt was awesome. You know what I mean? We're like, man, this is really good. It sounds good. Sonically, it's a beautiful record. It reminds me of like a little bitty, like, chilled coffee house version of Dave Matthews.
Right.
Like I enjoyed it, and they didn't care about that. They were like, hey, we want to just make a badass record. We're not fans. But now, I will be 50 years old next year, so I obviously have run the whole gamut of, I still even remember 8 tracks, and when vinyl was, a big thing the first time around. And of course, I grew up through the 80s, so cassettes were absolutely huge, cassette tapes, and then CDs, so I'm kind of a guy who still enjoys a physical product, because when I was a kid, you opened up your cassettes, you opened up those gatefolds, and you read those liner notes and who they were thanking and what bands they were into, and you poured over those lyrics. I mean, you studied that shit like it was a Bible, you know what I mean? Like, you read everything, and having a physical product was great. So it's kind of sad to see the death of the physical product, because if vinyl kind of dies back out again, and it remains to be seen if it's just a recurring fad or if it's here to stay.
but nobody's really going out and buying CDs anymore. So it seems like in this era, we might see the death of an actual physical product. I mean, our phones now seem to be our stereos, which is sad. And I am an old school guy who likes to sit down and really enjoy an album from start to finish, but it just doesn't seem like the rest of the world is at that point anymore. You know, sitting down and listening to 12 or 13 tracks and it's experiencing an album in its entirety, you know, and enjoying it for the experience that it is, which is sad.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. My two top favorite records of all time, I would say out of everybody in this world that has made music, is 2112 by Rush and Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Those they're compilation record, or they're what's the term?
Concept albums.
Albums.
Yeah, they sure are, right. And they're meant to be listened to that way, you know. They're meant to be listened to, you know, for an old head like me at least, you know. They're meant to be, you know, smoke a nice big fat joint, sit down and listen to Dark Side of the Moon, you know.
Right.
I mean, that's what you should be doing, for God's sakes. I mean, these kids nowadays, they don't understand that. I mean, yeah, and I can tell, you know, you being a young guy, because I was like that at that age too. You know, you're a young guy with an old soul, you know. Right. I mean, you know, so it just like you said earlier at the top of the interview, you know, you're probably born, you know, a few years too late, you know, unfortunately. But I'm getting a lot of musicians on here who are also outside of the singles thing. I mean, I got some old school musicians who still want to put out, you know, albums are still the way to go. But the EP thing is really becoming popular because I'm getting a lot of guys who are saying the rationale behind it is, you know, a small batch of 4 or 5 really well-crafted songs, though. So it's all killer and no filler. You know what I mean? Just 4 or 5 tight, awesome tracks. You know what I mean? And you're not getting any fluff in there, which, you know, I always like the hope that somebody wouldn't put out an album where they think anything is fluff. You know, I mean, that's the whole idea, right? Is to have it all be killer. I mean, but so do you think the problem is that people aren't filling up their projects with all killer anymore? I mean, is material getting weaker? Are people phoning it in more?
Oh, 100%. But it also comes down to what record labels and investors are willing to pay. It's a lot more expensive to pay a producer and an engineer in studio time for a whole 12 songs on a record. In fact, you don't even pick, you don't write 12 songs, you write like 30 songs.
I know.
The best 10 or 12. So that is so expensive. What a record that cost $100K for a major label,
right,
now only costs $10K. And so now you can have, you know, 4 badass songs, and then single them out, and then you're not spending so much money on your artist like how they before. So your return of investment's a little bit more. And it's just that's really how it goes. I feel like there's a lot of artists. Look at Post Malone. Post Malone has done nothing but records because he is one of those artists that have an old soul too. You know, he's like, dude, I want to make a record. I want to make a full record of songs that are just bangers. And he did.
Yeah.
So, but not every artist can do that. I feel like that a lot of artists are good at they're one and done, or you know, one hit wonders or whatever you want to call it.
Right. I like what you're saying about the 15 songs, though, and releasing them one at a time, because I think if you have an album's worth of material, and 15 songs even certainly is probably a few more tracks than even, you know, a full album, unless you're really doing a long album. But usually 10 to 12 seems to be the average. But if you got 15 good songs and they're well-crafted songs, the only way that they're probably all going to get heard is if you release them as singles. Because if you were to put 15 on an album, you know, people aren't going to dive into those deep tracks. They're going to find the 2 or 3 catchiest ones. And then, you know, you've slaved over all these songs that you think all of them are great. And that's the unfortunate part. That's got to be the frustrating part of being an artist. Like, geez, we think they're all great, but people have latched onto these 2 or 3 and they're forgetting about these other 10 or 12 that are also great, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think people deep dive anymore and explore what's really on an album. Like, you don't really hear people really talking about, like, you know, I mean, those deep tracks on albums no more. You know, like, you just hear about the how important is it for a young band to shoot videos nowadays? Because, you know, I grew up in an era where MTV actually fucking played music videos, which seems to be a long gone tradition. But as a young band, do you find that making a video and getting it up on YouTube helps elevate your profile some? Are people still coming and watching those?
Oh yeah, 100%. The thing is that MTV switched over to reality shit. So like that's they matter, but that's because people could watch it on YouTube and watch the videos they wanted to, versus it being played like radio where it's in order how the program director feels. So YouTube really has picked up on the video aspect, but music videos are still a really big thing in the industry. It's not going, you know, it's not going anywhere, honestly, because people, what they're doing is that they're taking the metadata of all of their accounts,
right,
and they're linking them where I will play a snippet or a preview of my music video or a walkthrough on TikTok, and then that TikTok will link to my YouTube, and that YouTube will, all the traffic from my TikTok videos that might go viral or have some traction will go over to my YouTube. And then now I'm getting paid both from YouTube and TikTok. So the visual aspect is still very much there.
right.
You have to be able to, there's a certain standard now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so tired of the bands coming out and doing the same old music videos where it's like a live performance, or it's them in a warehouse and, you know, standing next to each other. I'm so over that shit.
Yeah, you're right.
Videos,
yeah, that
man.
warehouse one. Yeah, either the warehouse one or standing out in a wooded area somewhere. That one's big too.
Right. Yeah. Over that shit. I feel like that's been played out, and the creativity needs to be there. If you want to look at creativity and find somebody who, like a new artist, I don't know if you like finding new artists, but there's a band called Movements. Their videos are awesome. They're like a pop punk kind of band.
Okay.
Jaden, it's spelled JXDN. He's
okay.
Imagine MGK, but like this kid sings.
Yeah.
So like MGK is more like the rappy pop punk, right? Well, Travis Barker took this kid from TikTok and was like, I'm gonna make you my protege, and I'm gonna play all the music on the songs, like all the drums, and you'll write your vocals to it. And holy shit, his records they're phenomenal. This kid is so talented. But his music videos are badass. And then you have like Break-Ins out of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
His company, so he actually was just like this local artist, and this company called Outcast picked him up and said, we're going to do all your media videos. We're going to do all your music videos, all your photos,
wow.
all that, because they loved his music.
Yeah.
And their videos are badass, like crazy. Like this kid will be like on the moon or some shit, and then like he'll be it's just really cool. Like the way
who shells out the money for videos nowadays though? Are you guys on a label right now, or are you guys unsigned?
No, we're unsigned. We've been unsigned this entire time just because we understand the business, and we're trying to build leverage. We want to build leverage so when we go to because right now, if we get a record deal, that record deal will be a 360 deal. Which, if you're not familiar with how that works, that means every single amount of income that you get, that record label takes from. So that's merch, that's music, that's anything that we get, that record label's taking. And it's like 40%.
Jesus.
So, like, and that's right off the top. That's before we have to pay our manager, any expenses. And then they pay $5 a day per diem on tour. So they will give each member $5. That's for food or whatever. And then they'll pay in advance for your record or whatever. And then you got to pay all that back first before you recoup any money. It's all shit. So whenever you build leverage, you go to the record label and say, okay, well, I'm already doing everything on my own. I don't really need you, but I need your marketing team. So what I need you to do is that, because I already have this big fan base and I can do this without you. But if you want to make money and partner, what we do is that you pay for all my overhead. You pay for just like all my marketing and promotional, and then you pay for distribution, which everyone can really do distribution nowadays. But a record label, a major record label, has a distribution everywhere. So like they sit there and say, okay, well, we're going to put your music out, and all these sync deals are coming. So all these movies, get your songs in Netflix. And so they'll be able to generate money for you that you couldn't do on your own. And that's what they pay for. So you basically say all the things that you did, that's where you recoup your money from. But you don't take anything that I've been able to make money from. So once you have leverage, you get more money, you get more stance. You can negotiate.
Right.
Labels are kind of like the last resort nowadays.
So you would recommend to a young band out there to start out on the road, probably trying to do it yourself then?
100%. Well, we have tools, and you know, we have everything at our fingertips. You know what I mean? And that shouldn't make you lazy. That should make you want it more, because now you don't have to worry about waiting for someone to do it for you. You can do it yourself.
Now, you've mentioned a lot of different artists on here as inspirations and influences, but is there that one guy out there that you look at as like your ultimate influence as a frontman, as a guitar player, as a singer? You know, is there that one guy out there that's just kind of that guy that you put up on that pedestal for you?
Man, I know this is going to sound so left field, but the turning point in my career where I said I was meant for this, I saw The Weeknd and Drake in concert. And I'm not a huge Drake fan, but I like Drake. And I have mad respect for him, because when I saw him live, I was like, wow, I never thought about how to capture a crowd like that. I never thought, and of course, The Weeknd is just insane. That dude is like Jackson to the T. Our new age Michael Jackson, you know. So I have mad respect for them, but I would say those guys I really put on a pedestal. And then I was really big into Linkin Park, and so like Chester Bennington, I really looked up. I really tried to be, you know, those guys. Yeah. At least my professionalism and the way that I presented myself and my vocal ability, my tonality. So I would say like The Weeknd and like Chester Bennington and like the guys from like Alice in Chains, you know, Lane Staley, you know, like my favorite right there. You're talking my language now, man. That's my all-time favorite vocalist is Lane. Yeah. Rest in peace. I know it's so sad to think that all the guys that we're talking about all had untimely deaths. I mean, rest in peace to Chester, to Lane. You know, a lot of the good ones are taken from us much too soon. Chris Cornell. I mean, you know, we lost a lot of good ones here in the last couple of years. You know, a hard one for me was back in 2016. Even losing Prince. I grew up on Prince. Prince is my guy. Yeah, Prince is a goat for sure. Just an unbelievable talent in all the things that he was capable of being able to do. You know what I mean? Out of one guy, you know what I mean? You pretty much get a band when you get Prince, you know? A guy that can do it all. And now what we got to do is get you on something for those allergies, young man. Because you know, by day I work as a nurse. I leave the hair at home and I go out and I take care of sick people. Are you on something for these allergies? Really? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm a nurse. Yeah. Dude, that's badass. So, I woke up this morning and these allergies were kicking my ass. But so I have a question, since you are a nurse. Sure, fire away. Hopefully I know it, or else I'm gonna look like an idiot here. So I have been dealing with like something like pressure around my face. Yeah. Where like it actually affects my vision. Yeah, you might have yourself a are you running any fevers at all? No. No, nothing. I mean, I guess you could still have a sinus infection, or your sinuses could be impacted. I mean, judging by the fact that you know that the allergies are bad and you're complaining about the pain there, I would maybe go see like somebody like maybe start with your primary physician, man, but maybe have you go see like an ear, nose, and throat guy, man, and get your sinuses checked out. You know, I mean, yeah, because you can get a lot of pressure. You know, like you have sinuses all in that area. You know, I mean, it's not just when your nose runs. You have sinuses, you know, in your face, you know, around your eyes, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you know, if your allergies are that bad, and you're in Texas right now? Yeah. I mean, a lot of it too is probably just like the pollen, and you got the heat and the humidity and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I've only been down there once, but I remember getting off the plane and walking out of the airport, and that 110 degrees just hits you like a wall of, you know, like, I mean, me and my wife went down there for a wedding, and I'm going to admit, I was on edge the whole time, man. You know, her new husband wanted to take me and show me around the property in the back, and he's talking about rattlesnakes being back there. And I'm just like, this is not going to be my idea of a great vacation if I get bit by a rattlesnake. You know what I mean? This is going to put a serious damper on my time. And then they took us to, you know, because I'm in upstate New York. The worst thing that we're dealing with is just some harsh winters. You know what I mean? But we don't get any tropical storms. We're too far inland. We don't have any creepy bugs or spiders or snakes or anything like that. They took us to a watering hole, and we were swimming for about 5 minutes, and some guy comes running down the bank yelling to get out of the water. There's a water moccasin swimming up on us. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, every time I turn around down here in this fucking Texas, there's something hazardous, you know, potentially rolling up on us. Yeah, we're the Australia of the U.S.
Yeah, I guess you are. I guess you are. So okay, so that leads me to my next question then. The EP came out in 2020. So when are we going to see some new stuff out of you guys?
So I'm actually, once we get done here, I'm actually heading to the studio, and we're going to be basically game planning what song, because we have like, man, even though we have like 15 songs that we really love, there's like 5 that are smash bangers. Like every time I hear, I'm like, damn, I helped write that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out what song is first, and what game plan we want to go. And then this is a little spoiler. We're actually doing the 1 chip challenge.
Okay. Oh, I saw you guys on your Facebook. I saw you guys in the van there holding up the little packages there.
Yeah, dude. So I don't know if you know anything about Scoville unit, how that works. So I'll give you a little rundown just to sake of the content.
I've watched a couple episodes of Hot Ones before.
So yeah. So let me just put this in perspective.
Yeah.
A jalapeno is about 50 to 75,000 Scoville unit.
Right.
A habanero is between 150,000 to 350,000. A 1 chip challenge, the 1 chip has the Carolina Reaper and the Scorpion Pepper, and it's at 1.7 million Scoville.
So what happens when you eat that shit? I mean, do you just fucking turn into a pile of dust right there? Like, what happens?
That's what I said. We're gonna video it and we're gonna see what happens. But it says on it like how long. There's like challenges, like how long can you go without having to drink something. Like some people say their ears start ringing, and like
I was just gonna say, man, if you eat this, it might actually clear out those sinuses.
Yeah.
You might not have nothing left in there.
Right. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how this is gonna work.
So how does that work? Does the whole band all eat one?
Yeah. So we'll video it, and we'll take the chip, and we'll just all eat one at the same time.
Okay.
And video our reaction, and then we're gonna post it.
And now, do you think that anybody in the band is particularly, like maybe based on like, like their personality, like, these guys obviously the best, or their ethnic background? Some people come from a family that eats spicy food. Is anybody in the band, do you think, going to do particularly well or particularly bad with this?
I would say, honestly, I feel like Corey, our bass player, would do really well because he went to culinary school.
Okay.
So he's used to trying different things like that, but he also really doesn't care about what he like puts in his body. So like he drinks like 7 energy drinks a day. Like this, he's wild. So, and he'll eat any kind of food ever. So, and all the time. And I feel like that his palate's so burnt.
He's just gonna burn right through it then.
Yeah, he'll be fine. So I feel like he'll do well.
Well, I certainly hope you guys come out of the other end of that okay, man, and nobody, I mean, like, what's the worst that's happened? Have you heard any real horror stories about this chip challenge? I mean, other than people's mouths burning and probably needing copious amounts of something to drink, but I mean, how much damage can these fucking chips induce? I mean, what can they do to you?
There's no damage. Legally, they wouldn't be able to sell it to you if it really killed you. You know what I mean? But, I didn't look up any videos because I didn't want it to affect I just wanted to go in there blind.
Yeah, right.
I wanted to be a genuine, like, all right, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Oh shit, I actually could probably, burn from my eye or bleed from my eyes or something.
Who knows? Who knows? I tried that stupid cinnamon challenge a couple of years ago. I couldn't do that. And all that is just like taking a tablespoon of just straight cinnamon and trying to eat it.
Was it hard?
Awful. Like what you end up doing is, and I saw this on YouTube, you end up doing like the dragon, I think they call it the dragons, it's like a puff of smoke, like where you're just trying to get it down and you're just like, you know what I mean? And it kind of just like comes out. It's very hard because it's just like, it's very dry. It's very dry. And then here's another one where you can make some good money on a bet. Try to bet somebody, and these actually have to be the saltine crackers. Nobody can eat 6 of them in 1 minute and have them chewed and swallowed without any liquid. Saltine crackers, not Ritz. They got to be the square, the saltines. Nobody can have them chewed and swallowed without the assistance of liquid. It is fucking, the only person I've ever been able to see do it is my dog, but I could throw 6 of anything at him and he would eat them. But a human being's palate, though, I think it's a combination of the dryness of the cracker and the salt just drying your mouth out as you're going along. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you try one at a time quick, throw 3 in and chew them, and try to throw the next 3, cramming all 6 into your mouth. It won't matter. You will not have them chewed and swallowed in 1 minute. Impossible. It's one of those bets maybe that you can lay on one of the guys in the band and make yourself a couple of bucks if they don't see this first, because
awesome.
I'm sure at least one of those guys is going to think, maybe Corey, he might think, I can do it. Give me 6 fucking saltines,
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to keep that in mind. Let me another video.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you being so generous with your time, man. I love the sound of your band. I'm flying the flag for you guys, man. I love what you do, man. I hope your trajectory is upward and onward, man. And don't get too, don't get so big on me that we can't do this again sometime when you're a huge rock star and you're Bon Jovi,
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I don't think I'll ever, in my heart, feel like that I'll ever get too big for interviews like this. So
good. I appreciate that, man. And if I in passing, if I run into Avril Lavigne, I will give her the message for you, man. I will try to hook that up for you.
Put in a good word.
I will, of course. I will put in a good word. I'll say, hey, what's wrong with a guy that looks like the Biebs? You know what I mean? I got a handsome guy here that will worship at your feet and do anything for you. He burned through 2 CDs and took a lot of tongue lashings from his old man trying to listen to your music. I mean, that's a testament of love right there, my friend. It really is.
Oh yeah.
You love this woman.
That's awesome. Man,
listen, man, it was really a blast talking to you, though, man. Seriously, let's stay in touch and we'll do this again for sure. And I will be listening and watching intently for new music, man. You guys blew me away the other night opening for Candlebox. Doesn't happen with opening bands or even young bands. I'm the kind of guy that's like stuck in a time warp. I can't even get out of my own way from listening to shit from the 80s and the 90s half the time. Very rarely does a new band come along that really makes me, kind of sit up and take notice. But I love great melodies. I love that you got the crowd singing along, and you're a young band that can get an audience in the palm of its hand. You guys obviously have a lot of charisma. I thought it was great that you guys come out to your merch table and you interact with the fans when it's just easy to say, we just did a show or whatever. We're going to go sit backstage or whatever. So, everything that you're doing, man, like points to success, though, man, because I think that's the right stuff to do. It just is. It makes fans happy, man, and the fans like interacting with with bands. I think,
dude, I really appreciate that. We're doing what we love. What I mean? I could be working some bullshit job that I fucking hate and blow my brains out every day.
I know,
but I'm not. You know what I mean?
Right. I know that, and it's good that you have the foresight to count your blessings. And besides, Avril Lavigne is not going to go for no welder. You gotta stay doing this, man. You gotta think about that. You gotta think, look, if I'm not doing this and I'm welding, I have no shot at Avril Lavigne.
Right
or wrong.
You're right. 100%.
I don't want to see you welding. I want to see you up there on that stage kicking ass with the guitar in your hands, singing, "Let's go to the movies." I like that. I like that because I turned and looked at my buddy Rick and I said, that brings back such good memories because that was a big part of my childhood and movies were only $1 back then. And I went to see everything great in the 80s at this one theater in the town that I lived. And it's no longer a movie theater. First, they tried chopping it up into one of those like multiplex things, but it was really one of those nice old theaters that had seats down there and then a balcony. But I just think of the 80s movies that I saw there, The Lost Boys, The Karate Kid, La Bamba, just so many great 80s movies, man. And it's just, it sucks. I don't even know if the movie experience is the same anymore. It's very nice because I went to see the Elvis movie recently, and now they set, now the chairs are like thrones and they recline and, they're really, really nice. So it's a nice experience going to the movies nowadays, and it ought to be for $13 fucking.
Yeah, 100%.
But listen, man, I really love what you guys are doing, man. And if I could keep it up, that's all I can say, man. Keep it up. I wish you guys all the success in the world, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too, Ian. Thanks for joining us, buddy. I really appreciate it. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Later. That, my friends, is Ian DARTEZ. Do go check out his band. They are called Hold On Hollywood. There's the hat that I purchased at the show the other day. If you like bands in the vein of like a Green Day, they have very anthemic, guitar-driven, a lot of melody, a lot of charisma. Those boys are going to go far right there, man. And Avril Lavigne, if you're listening out there, man, that young man loves you. That's the kind of unconditional love that you're looking for in life. So if Avril Lavigne ever sees this, come on, do my man a solid there. But all kidding aside, go check out Hold On Hollywood. They just put out an EP. Their last EP is from 2020. It's called Love Stories. They do a real kick-ass version of the Eddie Money song, Take Me Home Tonight. I don't want to let you go. All right, that's enough. Usually I make people pay to hear me sing. The hell am I giving it to you for free for? But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Pod Scum. And remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.